Hello Fest. Do we get tired? Okay. And so there's times that you're like, you walk in that door, and I remember, just like you gotta kind of leave everything behind you, right? You try, and you're in front of a classroom of 31 and a half kids, and you're on, right? Or you're in the counseling office, and kids are crumbling and falling apart. And we're in a world where we talk a whole lot, we hear a lot at least, about mental health, and I think there's not enough focus on you guys, because we come in every day, and it's hard. Dude, it's hard, because you bring all of that stuff with you whether you like it or not, okay? That's just kind of how it rolls. And one of my kind of takes when it comes to being an educator, okay, and as kind of as a SAC counselor, I always I clump counselors in, I clump everybody in as an educator. You wear like a gazillion hats, correct? I mean, it's not only are you instructing people, you're trying to inspire people. There's times you're like a surrogate parent, you're a coach, you're a caregiver, you're like juggling 50,000 things at once. You get tired? Do you get tired? Okay. And it's like, and I love when I try to I hear where it's like, well, teachers, they get the summer off. And I'm like, no, internal deep breathing exercises. It's a hard job. And I always like to say, dude, you try to fill the shoes that teachers and educators do. God bless you, right? The hats you wear, it's crazy inspiration, and you're going, and you're going, and you're going. And on top of that, along with us walking into our buildings every day, our kids are walking into our buildings every day, and so many of them are tired. And so many of them have so much heaviness. And my intention of today's presentation is not about being like, heavy cloud over our heads, but the reality of what life is. And how when we are not in a good place as educators, it's virtually impossible for us to be able to provide the level of education, air quotes, and care, and being able to really see our kids when we're not in a good spot. It's very easy to just correct right now. Like, you're like, it's just so, I'm going to use the word toxic. There's so much yuck. I do believe there's so much beauty. I believe there's so much beauty, and one of the things I have been in awe of is there are a lot of bad people in the world. There's more good. There are more that are willing to take risks and to spread mitzvah than you can possibly imagine. And that's been one of my missions. We talk about what it means to really get the most out of your life. Well, what does that mean when I'm 16 years old? We throw back in getting high on life. Where are you? We're meeting them where they are. Where are you? If you're hurting and you're trying to you're going to go home and I don't do anything. At some point, the bong's under the bed, the pills are in the drawer, and we're going to self-medicate. I'm sorry, that's what we're going to do, and that might people feel uncomfortable, but if we don't find ways to find a release, if we don't find ways to feel that we're somebody and we're not an island, we're doing things to feel better, correct? We're doing things to feel better. That's just the bottom line. So when we kind of empower kids with all these things and now saying you're a role model, you're part of something that's pretty spectacular, where does it go from here? It's now engaging other students in the school. For instance, with the program that I did, it was having what we call upperclassmen, 17 and 18-year-old kids, now going in and talking to 14-year-old students, whether that's in a classroom, whatever type of group you want to do, and now you're empowering those older kids and getting those younger kids to feel a form of positive peer pressure, bringing that term back, where I don't have to go through this time in my life making really bad decisions, because so many kids think when they get to a certain age, to fit in, to be cool, I need to do things in excess, I need to make poor decisions, I need to whatever, fill in the blank. There's a whole lot of that mentality out there, and when you flip that upside down and you see kids who are part of something pretty big and pretty amazing, talking about the power, okay, of good decisions, the power of like being a really good person, and one of the main components that has to be in a program that sticks and works when it comes to prevention is community service. Something that's missing in so many things that we talk about when it comes to education, when it comes to with our kids. Community service and giving back has so many tentacles to it. It's crazy. We have kids who feel like they can give nothing. They have no significance. I don't mean anything. When you have them plugged in and realizing they're helping someone else, Also realizing, oh my gosh, this person has this struggle, because a lot of times we can be, especially in our teen years, very focused on ourselves, correct? And how bad my life is and at times it can be very, very tough and challenging. But when we expose them to different facets of life with people struggling, you begin to be a little bit more grateful, and also looking at what can I do to help other people. I have had kids where we would go to a soup kitchen once a month, right? And it would be so amazing to see the difference between them leaving school, going to a soup kitchen, and on the way home. That high was present. I fed somebody tonight. What? I also did a thing, I'm going to challenge you to say this 3 times, called Philly Full-Fledged Feed. Boom. Okay? And what it was kids going into Philadelphia, and it became a school-wide project, right? And we would go in and we had the kids collect clothes. They would have to do it where they didn't buy anything, okay? Because we always think about money. You're not buying anything. Go through your closet, go to your neighbors, make a list. Okay, then they made bag lunches. Hopped on a bus, went into Philadelphia, set up shop, and fed about 150 people. And to watch kids, I knew their stories. They didn't know each other's stories. And watching the heart and the heart change and the veil come off of like, wow, I'm going to use an American word, dude, that was awesome. It is a high we do not tap into as human beings enough. It is a high. I, as a human being, Aaron Lawler Patterson, I'm addicted to giving back. Might sound strange. I have watched other students that I have worked with now go off to college or university, as we call it here, and start their own programs or get involved, thoroughly involved and entrenched, and they will say, that changed my life. It allowed me, when all hell was breaking loose at home and I couldn't fix home, but you know what I could do? I could work on myself and I could help somebody else. Huge, massive component we miss out on big time. And if we were really to think, because you might be thinking, well, where could we do that around where I'm at? I promise you there's places. We just need to dig a little bit, do some research. Whether it's a homeless shelter, whether it's a women's shelter, whether it, animal shelter. I brought kids to animal shelters. What animals do for kids, awesome. Kids who are challenged with anxiety, riddled with depression, and when you put them in a room with a cat, you put them in the room with a dog. I tried to get permission to have a chinchilla in my room. That didn't go over too well. But whatever it is, animals do something to our spirits. It really does. And it's funny, we have animal therapy, we have art therapy, and too often we get locked into this therapy, right? We're talking one-on-one. Some of the most amazing ways of cracking into somebody, right, is when their guard's down. When they're engaged in something that is just getting them excited about living life, right? We do not get excited about living life enough. We have people, right, whether you're 97 or you're 17, who are just coasting through life. We've got one life. We've got one life. How are you going to live it in a way that is going to knock your socks off? And when we get excited as adults, right, about life, and they see that enthusiasm, okay, whether you're a parent, whether you're an aunt, whether you're an uncle, whether you're a whatever, if our kids see us, they're watching us. Don't tell me they're not watching us. Just coasting, right? Dude, they're going to be blah. They're not going to be excited to be alive, right? We have the suicide level here with men in the UK. It's devastating. In the United States, if I get one more text or phone call about a kid, an alumni that dropped dead from heroin or suicide, we need to change. And we need to change now, and it starts with us in this room. Because I believe with all my heart we're ambassadors of goodness, and too often we can keep our eyes closed or we just get distracted. Life can be crazy, right? We can get distracted. But whether we're educators, whether we're therapists, counselors, whatever the heck we are, to whatever capacity we're plugged into young people, we have a role to play. And I believe with all my heart when it comes to prevention programs, we need to do better.